Welcome to
the... Sorry, I'll go. Woo.
Let's all try to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Afterthoughts podcast, where we share our thoughts
after stuff on this podcast.
Welcome, Doug and Ryan. Great to have you guys. And today we have Jacob, of course, and Kayla got married, so we have Kayla Emily.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Emily.
Welcome back. Great to have you back.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Excited and nervous. I just left the hats here.
3-0.
Oh, well, that makes sense. For obvious reasons.
3-0.
People that don't care about sports, we would probably still talk about the Buffs either way, but this is the story of sports.
It's crazy, man. 2 decades of never getting any press and just really bad football programs. And now I was watching a sports show this morning, and before they got to the Monday Night Football game, they're like, we first need to circle back to a game that happened 4 days ago and talk more about the Buffs. It's wild.
Yeah, a few of our friends from college that we're still in a small group with were at the game, and Chris texted us, well, the Buffs just took the field behind Lil Wayne rapping.
Yeah.
That's never happened before at Folsom
Imagine
Field. So.
being a player that was on the team last year, and then being there this year.
You're like, oh,
someone
Rock
needs to
is on the
interview one of those
now?
kids. Yeah, there's the Rock, there's Kawhi Leonard, there's Lil Wayne,
Yeah.
a bunch of rappers I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
It is the story of sports. Thank the Lord.
Dude,
The Buffs came back and beat CSU.
We were
hated
just saying that was
every
not fun,
minute of
man.
that
It would have been the
game.
most deflating loss. But Deion Sanders,
He's the best.
talk
man.
about a guy who's cool under pressure, calm, peaceful.
Dude, it was Saturday night was tough.
Very stressful.
Not only is it 2 a.m. and we know we have church in like 6 hours, but it's like they can't lose this game.
No.
And there's so much
Can't
build
lose
up.
this
There's-
game.
Went
the
over for
whole
that
world
game.
is watching.
Yeah, the
was
game
so
started at
stressful.
9:20 our time?
Ended up, I got home and went to bed at 2 a.m.
And preached the next day.
But I felt great when I woke up because we won.
I know. Thank God.
Who knows what would have
Priorities, man.
Thank God.
Well, yeah.
And we're praying for Travis Hunter to get better.
Yes, of course.
Vicious hit.
Did you give, when we asked of anybody on the planet to have on this podcast, did you say Deion? Did anybody say Deion?
I'll say that now. We'll add him
Deion
in.
Sanders.
Come on, Deion.
Let me see.
That would be so fun.
You guys
Yeah.
keep talking. I'll see if I can.
1-800
Or either of his sons.
Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. He's just
1-800 Prime, is that what you said?
the epitome of
Okay.
somebody who's understood the abundance mindset.
Perfect.
That's Deion.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll make it
Yeah,
work. Okay.
inspiring. What do you say?
He's just got to check his schedule.
Okay.
But he'd love to be on the show.
Let's go, Prime.
Great.
What is his, on Instagram, you can give a little bio or write like a quote.
Yes.
And his was, don't let my confidence offend your insecurity.
Oh man, there's a viral like reel that got made about
so
of him
good.
at a press conference, basically saying like, "What makes you think that I care what you think of me?"
Yeah.
And I mean, he's obviously huge personality. I think
Right.
comes off arrogant to some people. I truly believe he's just the most confident person, and he has such a deep rooted faith that I think he's like, I know what God thinks about me, and he's the guy that's like, I'm his favorite kid.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live my life that way.
It takes humility to know what God thinks about you.
Yeah.
Over your own opinions and everybody else's opinions of you. We'll get to that, but he has a healthy fear of God.
Yeah.
And that's why I
And
said
no-
this before,
no fear of man.
No fear of
None.
man. Well, what was the quote? Really quick. This is the little teaser trailer for what we're about to talk about.
Oh,
but
man.
we fear man so much because we fear God so little. And his is flipped in the healthy way.
Yeah.
And I think confidence and humility are sort of divine dance partners, and they increase with each other and decrease with each other.
Yeah.
So actually, it can look surface level, a fine line between arrogance and confidence, but confidence is deeply rooted out of humility. And
right.
I believe that it sure seems like he's got that.
Yeah.
And he's imparted it in his sons.
Yeah, big
All
time.
his kids. They, Man. Well, we'll get him on the show just whenever it works
Yeah, I think
out.
next week.
Maybe he has
see
to
how
wait till the
Oregon
end of the
goes.
season.
Yeah.
And then when he's here, we'll give him his job offer to be an honorary pastor on staff. Pastor Prime.
Pastor Prime.
Well, everyone's favorite segment on the Afterthoughts podcast is Questions with Kayla Emily.
Questions with Kayla Emily.
All right, Kayla. What
Am
you
I-
got?
Am I being Kayla today, or can I be
Up to
myself
you.
today? You know
Last-
what? I'll be myself today.
All right, Questions with Emily.
I don't know if you know how healthy that statement just was. Way to go.
Can you sing a Questions with Emily kind of intro to yourself?
I'm gonna tune this after She's the Man, and it's like a welcome. So it's welcome, 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 welcome to the question part.
That was great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was nice.
Okay. What is your most unpopular food opinion, or what is a food that maybe you grew up eating or that you eat now that if everyone else knew about it, they'd be like, "That's weird," but to you, it's normal?
I've got a good story about this. I used to not like ice cream when I was a kid, which is insane to me now because it's one of my favorite things.
Did you know about this?
But
Did you correct him?
Jacob doesn't like ice cream.
Shout out to Jacob. So in kindergarten, we had an assignment
Jacob, you don't like ice cream?
that was
Sorry, Ryan.
yeah. Tell us your
defend
thoughts.
myself here. I don't like. I'll never decide really to eat ice cream. It's fine.
Like when we
But
go to
it-
Dairy Queen, you're not going to say no.
Yeah, I'll get
That's
the
true. I
brownie
have
dough
seen you eat-
blizzard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I
yeah.
won't eat much of it.
Yeah, you get the
I'll eat,
Oreo,
like 2
right?
bites and I'm like
extra
done.
Oreo. No, brownie.
Brownie dough, extra brownie
That's
dough.
right.
Yeah.
Because it's too cold or what?
I don't know what it is. Too sweet. But then Emily will be like, "Oh, you like sweet coffee?" Like, it's complicated.
Which is
you know?
basically ice cream.
No, don't fight, guys. Please don't fight.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Ryan,
we'll
you,
fight.
you didn't like ice cream.
So I'm in kindergarten, and the assignment is you have to circle a smiley face or sad face. So it's like the sun comes out, smiley face. You get it's summer vacation, smiley face. Something bad happens, sad face. The picture was ice cream melting, and I circled smiley face, and my teacher marked it wrong. And it was like my first time as a 5-year-old. It was like, that's subjective. This is actually a good thing for me because it means I don't have to eat it. And I
Teacher's
went
like,
and
"Oh, gosh."
and my teacher was like, "This is a fun class. I like this kid."
You're objectively wrong.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my story.
I would say even subjectively wrong because it's melting. Oh, I don't have to. You never had to eat it. Now you have to clean it.
Yeah, but when you're 5, you feel like you're supposed to eat the thing that somebody gives you because you're not strong enough
Tell
or
that to
courageous
either
enough.
of my kids. That would be very helpful.
Okay. The first part of the question was
What's your most unpopular food opinion, and or what's something that you ate growing up or you eat now that to you is normal but to somebody else would be like weird?
I, as a kid, would get Parmesan cheese in my stocking at Christmas because I love it so
You
much.
love
I
it
can
that
eat it
much?
with a spoon. I mean,
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
people dislike it, but
Right.
that I like it to a level that's
So
absurd.
at Olive Garden, when
Yeah.
you go,
Tell
us
me when.
Tell me when. Well, okay. First of all, I love Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
Will, my 5-year-old, hates them
Yes.
because he always, "Are you cooking smelly sprouts?" He calls them smelly sprouts, but I think they're amazing. When I was a kid, I used to take Kraft singles
Oh, I know this.
and smother them with mayonnaise
Yeah.
and just eat it.
Wild, dude. Wild.
And now I can't do. I'm like the least pickiest person when it comes to food. The least picky that I know, and I will eat those things, but I will never go buy Kraft singles or mayonnaise
do
for
it
the
anymore.
rest of my life. Because
Yeah, fair.
we used to eat sticks of butter.
Yeah. Just straight. Just straight, man. The,
Just sneaking a butter stick from the fridge.
yeah, late at night.
My God.
Just work our way through a stick of butter.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about. On Will's birthday, you brought him some Brussels sprouts, or you told him you were going to get him Brussels sprouts for his birthday. And so Ethan walks up and goes, "Hey, Will, I got you some Brussels sprouts." And Will just goes, "Give them to Doug." Dude,
Called you by your name.
Tell me
Something
about my
about,
name.
something about your son
Give him
calling
to
his dad by your first name.
In a snarky way.
You like recognize this? Like if I say dad, you'll think of your dad. You call my dad Doug.
Give him to Doug.
Give him to Doug.
Yeah, he recognized that. Yeah. Yep. He for sure computed that in his little mind.
I also
before he said
like
that to you.
I like Brussels sprouts as well.
Thanks,
I do
man.
too,
I think
man.
they're good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I put Parmesan cheese on them
Oh yeah,
and some balsamic.
There you go.
I do too.
Full circle.
Bacon.
I do too.
Just
man.
remove all of the health benefits of it as quickly as possible. All right. What about you?
Okay, well, I have a thing with lettuce, and so in high school, I don't know if you guys have you heard of Zaxby's? It's like Chick-fil-A but chicken. It
Okay.
is chicken. Chick-fil-A is chicken. Zaxby's is like a different type of Chick-fil-A. And I would go there and I would have my friend who worked there order the salad for me, but with no lettuce. Because now I'll eat salads, but for the longest time I hated lettuce. And then I finally realized I will eat salad, so I like things on lettuce.
Yep.
But if you put lettuce on a taco or on a burger or something, no, I don't want to. I'll gag.
Wow.
It's gross.
Is it the texture?
I don't know. I think maybe it's warm lettuce that I don't like. I'm realizing.
Yeah, I mean,
That's fair.
And I think it's like a lettuce like dark meat combination because I can do it with chicken. But if it's on like a taco, I'm like, no.
Incredibly
like a beef
specific.
taco, I'm like, no.
Oh.
So
Well, let us hear another question.
all right. Hard turn to serious question. What is the thing about being in ministry that keeps you up at night the most?
Wow.
Oof.
Well, this will just take us straight into our fear
guess
conversation.
The thing about ministry that keeps us up at night.
For me, it's problems that I can't solve. Whether that's like somebody's upset at church, but I realize it's deeper than I can explain something or whatever. All the way to like world issues that we have partners like in the field with things like trafficking and stuff like that we're like in the fight, but I just want it to be dealt with, and that stuff that I don't have the control over. That's hard for me.
I think there's always more fruit. There's always a bigger impact that can be made. And so this message could always be a little bit better to reach a few more people.
Yeah.
We could always push a little bit harder to reach a few more souls, you know, because what we do in this arena, we're talking eternal significance about everything and making heaven more crowded. And which implies that you can make heaven not as crowded as you maybe could if you put a little less energy into it and didn't work as hard and kill yourself and exhaust yourself every single day. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And so it's finding where is that rhythm or balance where you go, God doesn't need me to be everything to everybody. And what is the ministry that our church is here to fulfill?
It's great.
And let's just be that, and let's enjoy life, and let's not crush ourselves for the sake of more and more fruit. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, but there's never a finish line, I guess, because there's always one more person that could be reached.
Right.
And so you have to decide, like, no, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna play with my kids. I'm gonna drive home, and I'm gonna leave this behind me. You know what I mean?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Comparison trap for me. I'm gonna preach about this in a couple of weeks.
Whoa.
But
Teaser.
Nice. But we spend so much time and energy just doing our best to help people understand Jesus and understand the gospel. But I feel like that's true about everybody in ministry, and then we all just compare who's doing it better than other people, and who are they getting better, are they getting worse? Like all of these different comparison games. It's wild, man. It keeps me up, and it's just been on my heart. So I'm excited to preach about it vulnerably here in a few weeks.
Thank you, social media.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, just
wild.
making that better.
Yeah, super helpful.
All of those things rooted obviously in fear, which is what we're talking about today.
Wow. Segue.
Nice job, Emily. It's been a weekend talking about fear. But before we get into that, I did realize we had a missed opportunity last week. Doug preached a message called Drug of Choice.
Yeah.
And we should have made sure to tell him that he's our Doug of choice.
Oh, man.
So now you know.
You can be our Doug.
You
Let
mean
that
that?
just be an identity moment for you.
I'll be your Doug.
There you go.
Talking about fear, let's start with like when you ask people what's your greatest fear, you normally get like snakes and spiders, those kinds of yeah. Do you have any of those? Something that's just like
Yeah, right now we have scorpions in our house.
Ooh.
We had one last night.
Dang.
oof.
Yeah, man. We just recently moved to Georgetown. It's in a new build neighborhood, and so the neighborhood and mixed with the heat, the crazy intense heat of this summer is like the perfect storm for scorpions. And we moved to their turf, you know what I mean? And so about once a week we find a scorpion in the house.
Do they break down like snakes? Like there's some of them that are more dangerous than others? What
Yeah, and I
happens?
think these ones are tree scorpions. Sam looked it up, and they're not, you know.
Are they venomous?
I
if they
think
sting
so.
you,
I
or-
think so in the same way like I think a bee is, but it doesn't, you know. There's some that
It's not
are
like a rattlesnake.
There's some that are deadly, like a rattlesnake would
Oh,
be deadly. Some scorpions, I think, you know, for instance, in Arizona,
Yeah, our dad got.
are more deadly and more poisonous
stung.
than these ones.
Our
are pretty
dad's
harmless.
he's a really tough guy. And
Yeah.
it took him out for a couple of hours. He was just in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody's been stung
Scorpions.
yet by a scorpion, but
That's good.
Wow.
I killed one last night.
Nice.
Don't like them.
No.
They literally look like they're from hell.
Yeah, they
bad
look
guys.
evil.
They look
They
like
are
bad
bad
guys.
guys in this
Yes.
story.
Even you watch like Avengers Infinity Wars and they're in Wakanda having a battle
Yeah.
and the bad guy she has that line like, we have blood to spare. We have all of these creatures that we've made, and they all kind of look like they're modeled after scorpions.
I know, man.
That's
There's
how-
never been a good guy
they're
scorpion
evil.
in a movie.
But speaking of even ads using how many times I've driven by a billboard in Austin, in Georgetown, in Cedar Park, and there's just like a 45-foot scorpion on the billboard, and it says like, do you have pests in the home? Like, call this number. And so even exterminators and pest control
They're the
are
poster.
using fear. I'm
Yeah.
like, because nobody drives by and
funny.
sees a 50-foot scorpion and doesn't think, I don't want that.
Dude, what if
You know what I mean?
What if there was a pest control guy that wanted to be motivated by love? And so his billboard was just like, I love you so much that I want to keep your house safe.
Let me set your house free.
He would just go out of business so quickly.
Oh yeah, fear is
You
very
have
effective.
to motivate with fear.
Yep.
Yeah.
What does Michael say? Would I rather be feared or loved?
Both. I want people to fear how much they love me.
Do you have one of those?
Well, you said snakes and spiders.
Yeah.
Mine is snakes. What happened for me a little while ago is I was paddleboarding and there was a snake in the water. And something about a snake swimming.
Not
it,
okay.
Swam past me with its head out of the water, you know. And I just remember being like, "You can't do that.
Yeah, that
like
seems
that's not
wrong.
fair."
That should-
Because on land I can outrun a snake. In the water, I feel like I can swim faster than
So
me.
you think, Ryan?
And
You never go.
Well, we're
Dude,
gonna test that out right now.
never
Right?
raced
We
a
have a
black
snake
pepper
here.
snake.
I've never understood it. When I was in 5th grade, we had 2 snakes as our class pet.
No.
And during the morning check-in, we would take the snakes out and pass it around in
No.
a circle.
Dude, I love that.
And
I don't mind that at all, man.
I do not trust
Dude,
people
I was
that
the
have
kid
pet
that was
snakes.
like, "Yeah, this is cool," and then just
Yeah,
immediately
people that are
"Why
like, "Oh
we
yeah,
doing
I have a
this?"
python in my house." I don't trust you.
Nope.
I don't trust you at all.
I think there's a story in the Bible about that. E.
Yeah, they're weird. Jacob is afraid of hippos. I found out this past week.
Why?
tell us everything, Jacob.
Have you guys seen here I am. Videos of hippos in the water,
Yeah.
chasing boats.
Oh, yeah.
They're as fast as boats.
Oh yeah,
And
They are
wild.
fast.
I think they kill the most people out of any animal in the world.
Most dangerous land animal.
They're
However,
freaky.
you live in Austin,
Yeah, you're
Right.
safe.
so you are.
Dude, I just stay away from Hutto, you know?
The Hutto hippos.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
right.
Hutto hippos.
Emily, do you have one?
Yeah, I get really freaked out if I'm outside and it's lightning and there's
Oh.
no coverage because I'm convinced that I will get struck by lightning. So
Yeah.
yeah, lightning freaks me out a bit.
But you know, Jason Hedger,
Yes, I
Jason
do.
Red Rock staff
Shout
member in
out to
Denver, been
Jason.
struck by lightning twice. Completely
Jason's
fine.
also a much better person than I am, so I just don't think I would.
Well,
survive.
fire refines. He's been refined through lightning. Okay. So surface level fears, but obviously diving into
Wait, did you say yours?
heights has always been one for me.
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we went
adventure
bungee jumping,
oh yeah,
in Africa,
dude,
that was okay.
Yeah. Adventure experience class in high school helped me with that though. Zip line and
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Broft.
climbing. Oh yeah.
Legend.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about fear, and maybe you guys can share. I shared obviously a lot of some of the fears from my life. I think for some people, fear maybe it's irrational. Like if Jacob let hippos, his fear of hippos keep him from going outside in Austin.
Yeah.
Then that's kind of an easy
Jacob is working from home this week.
Yeah, it's hippo
Hippos on the
season.
loose.
Yeah,
He watched Planet Earth 2 last night. Shouldn't have.
there are some irrational fears that I think,
Yeah.
okay, we can explain. But for most people, it's rationally based. And it's a driver in your life that you don't even totally recognize a lot of the time. I think most of us don't even realize, like, I didn't realize how much fear drives me. Until really, I've been working the past month on this message. Was there anything to you guys that, let's just start with the ladder.
Yeah.
The laddering concept where you take a fear. So say for Jacob, it was like, I'm hippos freak me out.
Yeah.
But if he drilled that down, why is that? Why is that? Maybe it's a fear of death, that a hippo could trample you and kill you.
Yeah.
And like a very painful death. If we're being real, that would hurt so bad.
Trampled, or they double jointed jaw bite your head like a grape, because those things, they're powerful. On that ladder for you guys, was there anything that you felt personally that you're like, man, that's at my bottom rung. That's a driver in my life.
I resonated a ton with what you were saying. Phenomenal sermon, by the way. Go listen to it. Fight fear with fear. That ladder exercise is so helpful. Is just continuing to ask why and why and why and why. And when you do it, and when you have good friends who will love you enough to ask you those questions, like Matt has been for all three of us. I tend to get down to work being a thing that I find my worth in, this takes us back to the fall in Genesis 3, where like work is such a beautiful thing. God's placed us here to work, and then it gets cursed. And part of that curse for me is finding my worth in it, which means when it's going really well, I feel okay.
Yeah.
But when work gets interrupted, I feel this anger start to rise up in me, which is terrible news if you work in ministry, because work is just one interruption after the other, after the other, and after the other. And so having to be on that journey of learning to redeem interruptions even, and realizing like, oh, maybe God is in this interruption. Maybe the best ministry happens in the in-between, and maybe God wants to do something different here. Like that has taken me a long time to get to. And on my unhealthy days, I'm still not there. But when I keep taking that down further and further and further, it is feeling like it reminds me of Survivor, which I've never watched. So I'm going to guess here that the name of the game is to make yourself useful.
You never watched Survivor?
I haven't either.
Those types of shows aren't like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I get it. There's a reason
it's still going.
There's a reason it's still going.
I watched it in 4th grade.
Nice.
And it's still going.
Yeah. But the name of the game is make yourself useful so you don't get voted off the island. And
there you go.
That is my bottom rung, is make myself useful so I don't get voted off. Like there's times where I'll get done preaching a sermon and like, this is insane. Like we're best friends who planted this church together. We're in it together. And still there will be times where I'll drive home going, well, I preached a good enough sermon that like, hopefully the other two guys are like, let me hang out for a few more weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's irrational, and yet it's there.
But it's rationally based in your mind, because you know that you've failed in your life at times, and people will push you away sometimes because of failure. So that just starts to root in you from a young age, I think.
Yeah.
I wrote, and I shared that I work really hard to be a necessity person, because being needed protects me from not being chosen.
From rejection.
That's been one of the most illuminating things in my life that I've realized. And both my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law all sent me texts of like, hey, I just want to like make sure you know that I love you for who you are and all that, which I totally appreciate. It was really sweet, but
very sweet.
Both Steph and my mom both kind of had that question of like, have I created that in you? Or I'm sorry if I haven't anyway. But for me, I feel like I don't know that came so much from external. Like I'm sure I've had experiences of people where you just feel like I'm worth something to them because of what I do. I feel like that's just been ingrained in me from a young age, of just feeling like life is about what you can do to prove yourself. And like you said, move yourself up that ladder.
Yeah.
And the times when you recognize like I'm not high up on that ladder are the scariest probably moments I've had in my life, which is honestly, that's the exact place I was in my life when I met God. Yeah. I had really nothing to show him at that point.
Yeah.
I'd walked away from faith. I'd walked away. I wasn't living in any way in a pleasing way to God. And that's, I think, often where he chooses to meet us, to go, okay, this is actually great to start from ground zero. Yeah. And I think I need to take myself back to that place, because I, in that moment, realized the humility of like, I haven't done anything to make you want me. I haven't done a thing. Wow. You should have every reason to just send me out. My whole goal in going back to church was like, can we make amends here? if I go enough times and maybe I join a Bible study,
Yeah.
go on a mission trip, then we're square.
Right.
And instead, I think the grace of God hit me so profoundly in that time because I realized that I don't have a way to earn this. This is my only shot, is to just have you give this to me. But then when you start walking in faith, it's easy to forget that and start talking yourself back out of that. Like, yeah, that's true, but it's kind of true, which is why grace is such a challenging human concept to understand. Doug, did you have something for you on the bottom rung, or did that?
Yeah, and
Or you
I'm
just
trying to
texting?
find. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar for the rest of the day. No, there
What
was.
time are we done with this?
Are you guys still talking? My gosh.
There's some translation, one a verse that talks about like God loved me when I was useless to Him, completely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you could really believe that to be true about yourself.
And there's the verse about like your good works are filthy rags, which I
Yeah.
think is often sort of projected like God doesn't care about anything you do. It's worthless to Him. Or rather, when I think that's talking about earning, where He's
Right.
like, this stuff doesn't earn you. I don't
Right.
need this from you.
Right. Yeah.
I've already got everything
Yeah.
taken care of for you.
Yeah. Grace is for effort and opposed to earning.
Yeah.
Because one of them is for love and one of them is from love.
Yeah.
But same thing, the latter illustration that you gave, even when you said, I hate the word intimacy, I hate that word too. I have to force myself to say it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why.
I love that you just said it. You
said
climbed up to
in-
the top of the ladder.
intimacy.
Yeah.
Also had so many people like, I was so scared when you were on that ladder. I was like, have you ever seen a person on a ladder before? Like,
It's 8 feet.
people use these every
so,
day.
It's so easy to stay balanced. Just
Yeah,
sitting
they're built for that. There's a whole purpose to a ladder, is that it's a safe way to go up higher than you are. But thanks to everyone who thought I was going to fall through the stage.
Yeah.
But I shared that last week in talking about preaching, feeling like I'm only as useful as my next sermon or my last sermon.
Right.
And nobody has told me that.
Right.
You know, people say
Well,
the
we
opposite.
have.
You
Yeah.
guys have.
Yeah.
Just
we
every
try
once
to
in a while.
There was
Keep you humble.
I just listened to something about this study where they talked about what you reward kids for and what you praise kids for.
Right.
So if you praise, it's the difference between praising them for the outcome and praising them for the effort.
Yeah,
So
good.
for instance, if you grow up and you get praised for your good grades and you get praised for your performance versus you get praised because, buddy, I'm so proud of you. You're working so hard.
Yeah.
And that's what I care about. Regardless of the outcome, you're putting energy, you're trying, you're working hard, and that's what I want to praise you for. That study showing kids who get praised for the effort actually grow up healthier and accomplishing more.
Interesting.
Man,
Because
you talk about youth sports.
Yes.
I think for a lot of people, that's where this starts, is they have a coach or a parent who, unless they play well and their team wins, they don't feel approved of if they have a bad game. And that's so unhealthy, but I think we all do that. Like as
so much of
society
it
to
can
kids.
make sense and seem noble and seem like, why would you not praise your kid for a good report card? Why would you not praise your kid for winning a championship?
Yeah.
But what can subtly happen if there's not also the same sort of celebration spirit for the effort is you start to subconsciously believe I am only as useful as my report card in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you start chasing the high of winning and getting to the top of the mountain as opposed to pursuing the process and the magic
And
that
so
gets you
many
there.
athletes, when their career ends, whether it's high school, college, professional, they have no idea what to do from there because that was their whole worth was built into that. And we all have our own version of whatever that is.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read this one quote and then I have one more. I'll share my ladder.
Go.
I'm excited to see Doug read.
You memorized it all
Yeah, you
last
guys
night.
don't know that I just memorized this.
Shout out to Donald Miller, by the way.
Yeah, this
just
book,
one of the
Scary
best
Close,
writers.
is incredible. The tagline says it all: dropping the act and finding true intimacy.
Yeah.
Dropping the act and finding. I recommend
I'll
this
read
book
it. All
for
right.
you.
Will you sign
Okay.
it for me?
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's the gist of this story, I suppose. These are snapshots of the year I spent learning to perform less, be myself more, and overcome a complicated fear of being known. This book is about how I realized I could have a happy life without splitting an atom or making a splash. It's true our lives can pass small and unnoticed by the masses, and we are no less dignified for having lived quietly. In fact, I've come to believe there's something noble about doing little with your life, save offering love to a person who is offering it back. Here's a thought that haunts me. Here we go. What if we are designed as sensitive antennas, receptors to receive love, a longing we often mistake as a need to be impressive? What if some of the most successful people in the world got that way because their success was fueled by a misappropriated need for love? What if the people we consider to be great are actually the most broken? And what if the whole time they're seeking applause, they are missing out on true intimacy because they've never learned how to receive it? And then he says, years ago, I remember seeing an interview with the son of a former president who, after a sigh and a long silence, admitted he spent countless hours with the most powerful man in the world, but had no idea who he really was. I never knew my father, the son said. Nobody knew my father. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read it.
You should. Here you go, man.
Wow.
You can keep it.
We're doing giveaways on the Afterthoughts podcast. I won today's.
Actually, I need that back after this because I'm only halfway done with this.
Perfect.
But another ladder, I think I'll start actually from the bottom of it because I think we can fill in the blank for so many different things at the top. It's just the fear of death.
Yeah.
And the fear, that is the ultimate unknown. You know? I think there's even a reason in church, and everything we do is because we believe that, 99.999999999% of our existence is not going to be here in this life, but after this death, in eternity, in heaven.
Yeah.
And yet, even so much of what we talk about and sing about and preach about is not about heaven.
Right.
It's about life to the full now. Even a series like Alive and Free can, if you miss it, can seem like it's just about maximizing life to the full and abundant life here and now. However, I believe that happens most when you are least afraid, and not even least afraid of what is next, but looking forward to what's next. Like how Paul says to live is Christ and to die. He doesn't say to die is no longer a big deal. He says to die is actually better. To die is gain. And when you can truly believe that on the bottom rung, at the deepest parts of who you are, that is the ultimate freedom, alive and free. And so I believe it's the fear of death that keeps so many people living in fear in smaller ways. Even like we were on a flight a few days ago, and there was so much turbulence going from Denver to Austin, and I was with the whole family. We had the back row. They saved the back row for us because Will had tripped over a guy's luggage and cut his lip open, so we were in the bathroom, and Southwest was great. They saved the back row. But we're in the back row. There's so much turbulence, and Kinsley is watching Encanto on one of our iPads with her Elsa headphones on.
Yes.
And she's 2, and she's just sort of like, she'll talk to us, and since her headphones are on, she'll yell everything. So everybody can hear everything she says, and she kind of narrates everything that's going on. So, we're taking off! Like, she'll just yell it. The plane's going up! And at the end, after so much turbulence, and you felt the unease in everybody on that plane. We did a bank coming into Austin, and she looked out the window, and she couldn't care less. She doesn't understand turbulence, or she's never thought about death before in her entire life. And she sees the land, and all of a sudden she yells, "We're going down! We're going down!" And then right back to watching her movie. And the back 10 rows just erupt in laughter, and she has no idea. She's just back into the world of Disney. But I feel that on planes, like an uneasiness. And that's just one example of about a million that you could give of a fear of the ultimate unknown.
Yeah.
And I think it's in 2 Peter where Peter says, "Are you looking forward to the new heavens and the new earth one day? Are you looking forward to what's after this life?" So it's not just embracing the unknown, but you're starting to enjoy thinking about what's coming next. Yeah. That is the ultimate freedom for everything else higher up on that ladder.
It's good. it's cool too. I was thinking about like even other people. For almost any fear we have, there's somebody who's been through your worst fear and come out the other side.
Yeah.
But Jesus is obviously the full picture of that, and that if death is the ultimate unknown and a lot of people's greatest fear, how cool is it that God came here not just to like tell us, hey, you don't need to be afraid, but to show us that I'm not even afraid of this.
Yeah.
I will go into the unknown, to the scariest thing that there is, myself, to show you guys that I can meet you in any fear that you have.
That's wild.
When that stuff hits you on the bottom rung, I was thinking of like Inception, like you open the safe. That's the truth, that you realize this is the thought that I'm supposed to operate the rest of my life off of.
Yeah.
You can start working your way back up that ladder. And then you find the people who can sit on top of that ladder and be like, yeah, I just had a really uncomfortable interaction and it's not going to cause me to question my identity.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Because you're all the way down to, I'm a child of God. I'm not afraid of the unknown.
Right.
I'm not afraid of man. I'm not afraid of all these things. My identity. I know I'm loved. I know that I'm worthy. And so I can just be a human being that's broken and has an awkward interaction. It doesn't just capsize your life. That's how it reverse ladders its way back up. I also use the analogy of a controlled burn. The fear of the Lord is a controlled burn for the human fears of your life. So in the forest services and I guess stuff like that, they'll burn an area of land. They can put it out. So they have fire in the right context. They can control it. And then a wildfire can't spread into that area because fire has already done what it's supposed to do, right? It's a refiner. It's a purifier. And the fear of the Lord is that way, that it goes to the fields of fear in your life and levels them, puts them in their proper place. And then when the enemy tries to build a wildfire, there's no land to go into.
Right.
Because you understand that root identity stuff on the bottom rung.
Yeah.
The beginning of this year, my wife and I had our second boy, Rayburn, was born on Christmas. And then my wife was the one who said, hey, these next couple of weeks, we're going to have just a lot of downtime where we just hold him. And let's not just like binge watch everything and waste all that time. Or at least that's not what I'm going to do. And when your wife says that, you're like, okay, we'll both do that.
Yeah.
So we were just both like, when we hold him, like read scripture a lot and pray for him and stuff like that, which sounds super noble Christian thing to do and is not my default. But those first 2 weeks were some of the richest times I've had in my life. I read all the Psalms.
Yeah.
And I read a couple New Testament books as well. And I didn't have the metaphor in my mind at that point, but we had so much fear walking into having him because our first boy was in the NICU and it was scary. We'd had a miscarriage. He was born a couple weeks early then. So there's all these rational fears to have, and then just sat and let the word of God just speak to us every single day. Wow. And it was like a controlled burn every day for us of, that's my child first. I've got you. I'm with you. And within that, reading all the Psalms, the fear of the Lord is everywhere. Just everywhere, and especially in the Psalms and the Proverbs. It's like David knew it so well, and then his son knew it because his dad knew it so well. Yeah. And they talk about it so much. And that's when that revelation hit me at that point of how desperately we need the fear of the Lord. As individuals, as the church. We need to understand the fear of the Lord, but it is a complex concept. It feels a little more like deeper waters to talk about the fear of the Lord. How do you guys understand it? How have you wrestled with it? Has it been a struggle for you to grasp that component of a relationship with God?
Yeah, because I think you even said, God, I'm trying to tell this entire church to not be afraid of you, but to fear you. Don't live afraid of God.
Super simple.
Yeah.
Don't live afraid of God. But guys, you got to fear God.
Right.
Come on.
That's how I feel.
picture Paul Rudd on the surfboard and forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. Oh, well, you got to do something.
something.
You're just boogie boarding.
Right.
Oh, you're doing too much. Do nothing.
Yeah.
Do less. Don't be afraid of God. Okay, you got to fear God, though.
Right.
God is not abusive. God is not, and I think you even made the point, God, a lot of us, you said you might have an earthly father who was a terrible representation of the heavenly Father. So let's get that guy out of your mind, because that's not what we're talking about when Scripture says to fear God.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best way, I mean, for me, honestly, it's nature by the ocean or the mountains. The ocean, because I love even the Psalms and the verses that say, like, he puts the water of the deep into jars. And I've been on a flight from San Francisco to Sydney, and it's been 14 hours through the night. And I remember the first time I made that flight, having a window seat and looking down, and I didn't sleep the whole night. And it was one of the most, in a great way. Like, I didn't want to. I just loved it because I felt so small. That was about 2 years into my faith and realizing, man, God is so big and so powerful. And the distance between our 747 and the surface of the ocean is less than the distance between the surface of the ocean and the bottom of the ocean. And the Psalms,
that's
the
crazy.
Psalms say that God puts that into jars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ocean is no mystery to him.
Yeah.
I have memories of night surfing with you in Laguna. And, you know, you look out at the horizon and you can't tell where the sky stops and the ocean starts. It's just all black. And you're wondering when you don't see the next massive wave until it's about 20 feet away from you. You're wondering the whole time what's swimming underneath you. And I think I love those moments realizing this is no mystery to God.
Yeah.
He tells the ocean what to do.
Yeah.
And there's some proverb or some verse that says only a fool, only an idiot stands in front of the ocean and thinks he or she is something. Like that person's a fool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That person's missing out on the fear, the reverence, the awe of God.
Right.
That, my father can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. It's that reverence, that imposing grandeur of nature that makes you feel small.
That's so good.
I love
man.
that.
For me, I've found that verse in Genesis 3 super helpful, where Adam and Eve eat the fruit. We know the story. They run, they hide, they sew fig leaves together, and then they hear the sound of the Lord walking in the coolness of the day. And the question God asks is, "Where are you?" And the question I've learned to ask is, okay, what is God's tone of voice when He asks them, "Where are you?" Because unhealthy fear of the Lord is, I think, how most people respond to that, which is whether it's their earthly father, they're copying and pasting onto it, or a coach or a teacher or a principal or whoever, where it's like, "Where are you? Because I'm going to punish you right now."
Right.
I would say that that's not the biblical fear of the Lord that we're after. I think what it's supposed to be is more like, to bring back to Lion King, like Mufasa when he shows up when Simba and Nala are in trouble. And he has there's this urgency, this reverence about him, but it's because he's going to put a bunch of hyenas in their place.
Yeah.
And so I hear God walking in the coolness of the day as this concerned father who goes, "We usually spend time together. Like, we used to go to walks together, and I miss that. And I want to go for a walk with you right now. If there's something that has come between us, it's time for me to take care of it." Which, by the way, he did by ultimately making the greatest sacrifice by sending his son to take care of that wall. But I love that idea of God realizing, hey, there's something wrong. There's something that's come between us. I want to do something about it. That's the fear of the Lord to me. And what I've been doing for a controlled burn recently, it's always changing. I've noticed in my own life, and maybe this will help someone, that I can't just do the same thing over and over and over again, that I'm constantly, it's like the Holy Spirit's constantly leading me into different seasons of doing different things. Right now, it's the sunrise, which is nice because this time of year, the sun doesn't rise until like 7:15, so it's a little easier to do this. But my whole morning routine is now based around being done with that and outside for the sunrise, preferably on a walk or a run. But there's just something really majestic about that moment, about morning light, and about that moment when the sun begins to rise. And so I do all of that before I look at my phone or get on the internet or any of that, because I know my insecurities, I know the comparison game, I know all of that stuff that I'm prone to, and I want to have a controlled burn in the morning where I stand in awe and reverence of a God who is in control of all of this. And I go, God, you're so beautiful and so majestic, and you call me a child.
Yeah.
And so anything else that comes today, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I know I got this.
That's good.
And so I start there with the sunrise, and that's my controlled burn.
I think that, well, here's the thing about controlled burns. You don't do them once because the fields grow back.
Right.
That morning concept, I've seen that in my life too. The difference between my days, if I get going and I'm reading texts and blah, 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 or if I first have a portion of my day where I just remember who God is. And I haven't normally framed that in my brain about starting my day in the fear of the Lord. It's just been like, well, do your quiet time first. And even yesterday morning, I woke up, was going to get ready to go work out, and I had that moment of like, do I check like fantasy football? Do I check the text I have, blah, blah, blah. And then I stopped myself and said, no, I'm going to let the Lord speak to start my day. And just read a proverb. I'm in the thing right now where you read one proverb a day for a month. And just reading one proverb just reminded me, oh, that's who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means that's who I am. And now the rest of my day, I just controlled burned a lot of things that could have started my day in the wrong way.
Right.
The opinions, the things that are going to speak into how I view myself and how I go about treating other people and all that. Just start with a controlled burn and let the fear of the Lord speak in your life.
That's so good, man.
Yeah.
You do that every day.
Yeah.
And it won't just change like better days. It will change your identity as a human being. Because you'll always remember who you are in light of who he is.
Yeah.
As a foundation.
Yeah, it's like when you first wake up in the morning, it's such a pivotal time to open that safe at the bottom of your ladder and put truth there. And if you reach for your phone, what's going to be in that safe is other people's opinions about you. If you go to God's word, you get outside, you watch a sunrise.
That's so good.
Go Psalm 27:1. The Lord is my strength. No. The Lord is, we used to sing it on the trip all the time. The Lord is my light and my salvation. There it is. Whom shall I fear? You get that in the safe before you go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You're bulletproof in a lot of ways.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. The more you fear God, the more you fear not everything else. The more
That's
of a
good.
fear we have for God, the less of a fear we have for people.
Matt, our buddy Matt in Hawaii, sent me an article about people who, like, biologically, sometimes it's because of an injury or a surgery, they don't feel fear. Something to do with the amygdala and the hippocampus, and there's a whole lot of brain science behind it. People who literally, like, they've tested some of these people to take them to, like, heights. And there was a story of a lady who she just didn't feel fear biologically and had somebody try to mug her, but she didn't feel fear, and it rattled them so much that they just left. And so there was there's like this two sides of this, where there's the healthy side where you look at somebody that if they don't feel any fear, then they might see a great white shark and be like, I don't care.
Right.
Well, you should.
Right. Yeah.
Right. If a hippo is charging you, you should feel afraid of that hippo. But it was also really cool thinking about like that metaphor of an enemy who's coming to rob from you.
And you're not.
And the lady's just like, not afraid.
Wow.
What are you gonna? You can take my stuff. Like, I'm not afraid.
Wow.
And I was.
Yeah,
it spoke to me.
That's pretty.
There's
pretty
a
cool.
healthy place for fear, and then there's the place where if you don't have that fear, the enemy doesn't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
He's kind of shocked by you because people live in so much fear.
It's kind of like everybody has a certain amount of fear, so just assign it to the right thing.
Yeah.
Before you
it's
have
an
a chance.
instinctual thing in
exactly,
you.
Exactly.
Yes.
And before you have a chance to assign it to people or to your, everything going on that day, assign it to God.
Give it to God.
Yeah. Don't fear don't fear death. Fear the one who has conquered death.
Yeah.
Don't fear man. Fear the one who is in
really
control
cool
of
thought.
eternity.
Which is what
You know
Jesus
I mean?
said.
Yeah.
In a really scary way for a lot of people that don't understand the tone that he's saying it and the understanding that Jesus had better than anybody else. And I read that verse in my sermon where he says, don't fear the one who can kill the body. Fear the one who can throw the soul and body into hell.
Right.
As I read that, I watched a lady get up and leave, walked out.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad because in one sense that poked something, maybe a fear or maybe a church experience or feeling like, oh, here we go. This is about to be like turn or burn and God.
Wait, have we not handled that topic well historically?
I mean, but
Totally.
that is like, I understand that can come off really harsh. And the teaching of Jesus does that, which is why I said, I'll never apologize for what Jesus said.
Yeah. What gospel were you reading from?
I think it was Matthew.
Matthew.
Yeah.
It's all over Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but Jesus is saying that with such an understanding of, hey, you should understand this.
Right.
The power of everything is in his hands. You have a choice if you're going to align yourself with him. He loves you so much.
Yeah.
Look at the value that you have. So there's the healthy fear of like, this is the power that he has. And I think that's good for us to feel uncomfortable by.
Yeah.
But then you also see the mercy and grace that Jesus can say that with authority because he goes, I know this posture. I know that my Father's not one to be afraid of, but I know that we should fear him because I know how good he is and how powerful he is. And I'm about to go pay the ransom for all you guys.
Yeah, that's the.
I'm about to go take care of this hell problem for you.
Right.
So place your fear in the Lord and follow what I'm about to go do.
Right.
That's because I love you this much.
Yeah.
That's the context he's saying.
Yeah.
And in which, unfortunately, for I think a lot of centuries, didn't really get preached that way.
Right.
It was be afraid of God
Right.
rather than fear the Lord.
Right. The quote I heard recently was, for decades, the church preached truth without any love.
Yeah.
And so now in response, the world is preaching love without any truth. So that's what we're living in.
Yeah.
Like you said, a world where it's all love and no truth, which really is no love at all.
Right.
It's basically love minus the fear of God, which equals nothing good. Everything bad. You started, I love how, I think you probably just subconsciously did it, where you read a quote about where there's no fear of God, there's nothing good. And you started by throwing yourself under the bus, which is something we always try to do by saying, hey, I'm going to tell you first and foremost, that's happened to me in my life.
Yep.
And I'm the culprit.
Yeah.
The problem with the world is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then from there, moving on to the world and saying, and in the same exact way as it's happened in me, in my life, it's happening right now in our world.
Yeah.
There's a complete, there's the preaching of love, 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 love without any truth or fear of God. And what it's equaling is everything we're seeing, which is nothing good.
Because you can just justify it that you can do whatever you want and there's no consequences. But the reality is, and I feel like I can speak from a place of authority and integrity on what it looks like to live without the fear of the Lord, where the base level things and probably where a lot of my struggles still of fears and things got rooted was in a place of feeling alone, of feeling hopeless, of feeling too far gone.
Yeah.
In the absence of the fear of the Lord, because I was calling all the shots. That's where that led me, which is why I loved sharing all the side effects of the fear of the Lord, because the Bible is full of all of this.
Yeah.
It's not just like this, you just do this because you do this. Here's 300 different verses that are going to tell you you want this because of wisdom and knowledge and love and hope and all these things that are going to follow.
You know what's crazy? One of the side effects you said was longevity.
Yeah, that was the
That's
most odd one
wild,
to me.
because
So
longevity
good.
is a buzzword right now in the health community.
Yeah.
Everybody, even down to, and it's one of my favorite things is Limitless on Disney Plus with Chris Hemsworth, where it's 6-part docuseries about how to live a longer life. It's interesting. The question right now that everybody's asking, how do I live a longer life? But nobody's really asking, how do I live a fuller life?
Yeah.
So you can have a longer life that's not fuller, and okay, whatever. But it's funny, longevity is a buzzword, and I can't help but think, because everybody's afraid to die.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's afraid.
And so, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So it
yeah,
comes back
man.
to that, to live is Christ, but to die is not gain. That's even most Christians right now. You know what I mean? And so, but it's so funny. Once you assign your fear away from death and the one who has conquered death,
Right.
and you assign it in his direction and you fear the Lord, you start fearing this less. And then the longevity you were after is like,
literally live long.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's because I think the things of the enemy, the things of evil, and the fears that call the shots on us will eat you from the inside out. And where it may just be a identity issue in your mind, over time your whole life will be lived out of that, and it will literally slowly kill, steal, and destroy. And that proverb is countering that, saying, or you could put things in their proper context and not let those things call the shots in your life, and you will literally have a longer, fuller, more hopeful, amazing life.
Yeah.
Because you just have that understanding of who God is.
Wow.
So, any other side effects that you guys see in your life that stuck out to you?
No, I mean, I think we hit it. Peace. It's almost like when it comes to the peace, there's a reason why we all work out in the morning. It's because we have aggression. It's because we have insecurities. It's because there's And if we don't work out, if we don't do something, we just know we're going to come here and it's going to come out in unhealthy ways where I'm going to snap or I'm going to say something I shouldn't say or whatever. And I just see the fear of the Lord being the same thing where it's like, I have fear in me. And so I have to assign it somewhere because if I don't, and so that's where I go, no, when you assign it to the Lord, peace is the outcome for it, the fruit. It's like, it's like every morning I assign all of my fear to the Lord, and then I go live alive and free.
There you go.
That was well said.
Well said.
Yeah, for me, we talked a little last week about self-control. That's been a fruit of, that's been a side effect of the fear of God. This is going to sound backwards at first, but it's actually not. Generosity and stewardship. And so even when we talk about money, which we talk about a lot in church because Jesus talked about finances more than anything else, and we now are in charge of a church budget that's growing that we need to steward.
Yeah.
And on one hand, you have like the, hey, to whom much has been given, much is expected. And so go and invest and go and you have to spend this and you have to, you know, this is to build, build. And you can't be too careful or else you're never going to do anything.
Totally.
And at the same time, our good friend Adam said this to me once, who is so he was put on this planet to be generous and to build the kingdom that way.
Yeah.
And he tells me, he says, and at the same time, don't mess with God's money.
Yeah.
And none of it, none of us are owners. We're owners of nothing and managers and stewards of everything.
So
even
good,
if I've
man.
been given a lot, even if I earned a lot, it's because I used the gifts God gave me and I was born into the country he put me in with the means and with all of these raw materials and ingredients for me to use my strength that he gave me to make this money. I am an owner of nothing and a steward of everything. Don't mess with God's money.
Yeah,
and I feel that way sitting over our Red Rocks Austin budget.
Yeah.
And over my wife and I feel that for our personal budget. Not too careless, but not too careful.
Good.
Don't mess with God's money.
I remember him talking about God told me to live this way with my money, and he's told me to give this much away, and I don't mess with God's money, so that's what I do. And when I put it into your hands at the church or somewhere else, that's up to you now.
Yeah.
Don't mess with God's money. That's in your court now to steward that way, which I think is such a way of freedom of living.
Those who have a fear of God are the best stewards of money.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the church, what is it? The church has given more money in the past 3 years than the U.S. government.
Yep.
Those who fear God are the best stewards of finances.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's healthy at the end of the day. It's like, no, he's a loving father who is good.
Yeah.
And is perfect in every way. And he tells the ocean what to do.
Yeah.
Good.
And he knows best. I think that's
Yeah.
where it gets really hard for us with the fear of the Lord, is because we always have that part of us that's like, but I think I know better. When Moses says, the fear of the Lord will keep you from sinning. We hear that through our context of like, because he's a buzzkill, because he wants to take away fun in our lives. Well, actually, no, it's because he knows that the wages of sin is death, and the sin in your life is going to lead you to destruction.
Right. Yeah.
And if you stand in the proper context, it's not, and because of Jesus, you don't go, well, I'm not going to do this just because I don't want to make God mad. You go, I don't want to do this because Jesus wants me to be alive and free.
Yeah.
And this is going to rob me from that. I want everything that he has for me, and that comes from living in the fear of the Lord. So
Yeah.
there it is.
I love that. But the cherry on top for me and all of that is I love how it's not, Christianity is not about just trying to not be afraid at all. It's not about don't live in fear. Just get rid of all your fear.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. How do you can't just get rid of fear.
Yeah.
But you can redirect it.
Assign it. Yeah.
Put it in its proper place.
Put it in its proper place.
Steward your fear.
And we, to end this, we need to circle back to something you said about 30 minutes ago. Every other fear in life, we have somebody that we can talk to who has been through it, except for death. It's a wild part of being alive that we can't talk to anybody who's been through it, except we actually can, because Jesus went to the grave for 3 days and understands what it's like and then conquered it. And so we can even talk to Jesus about death, which is insane.
Boom.
It's awesome. Perfect.
Yep.
All right, Jacob, Kayla, Emily, thank you guys.
Thumbs up.
Thanks, guys.
As always, share this, like stuff, follow TikTok, keep up on YouTube. These come out every week, And what are we talking about this next week?
Distraction.
Here we go.
Distraction.
We'll be back.
Destroyed by distraction.
Destroy
We'll be
the
back next week.
distraction.
Undistracted.
Come on.
Peace. Go Buffs.